tightly on the couch, boys.
I know we are.
Shout out to the band for the minute.
It's claustrophobic. I will sit in the middle, and I will put my arms around both of these very handsome men. Yes.
So guys,
Yes. Hey. Look at us.
so we're going to focus on directing, and guys, I'm going to open this up to questions later. If we can focus on directing, it would be great. If you got other questions, feel free, but let's try for directing.
I'm assuming that we are here because Jonathan Frakes wasn't available.
That's how my
No
career
comment.
started, actually.
No comment.
My first directing episode was because Frakes had to pull out of a Voyager episode to do First Contact. So I, again, fill in for him here.
Wow, there you go. So let's start with this. Why directing? For each one of you, why did you want to direct?
I like to boss people around.
That's the basics.
I have to say, right up front, when I was first asked about taking part in this panel, I thought, well, that's a joke with these two guys, because I am an imposter here, because I did direct a number of episodes, but that is the extent of my directing. These two went on and now are continuing to go on to distinguished careers as directors. When I left the family unit of Star Trek, I went, that's enough. I'm happy to talk about it, but these guys are the real deal.
You're also very good at it. You're very good at it. You directed some beautiful.
Yes, you did.
That's coming.
LeVar, you started by saying Frakes' name. We got to ask, he established the precedent and he set the bar. How grateful are all three of you guys for him opening the door to you guys being able to direct on Star Trek?
Enormously grateful. Enormously.
I wouldn't have done it if he hadn't. He was directing an episode. Rick was saying, you know, you should do this, and I was resisting, and Frakes said, are you crazy? Of course you're going to do it. Where else are you going to get a chance to learn something that would cost thousands of dollars if you went to a film school, and you're going to learn the whole deal, and of course you're going to do it. And he's the reason I did it.
Yeah, it was watching Jonathan be successful at it, step across that line and have a good experience, gave me the courage to go in and ask Rick.
But had you always wanted to direct?
No.
So it's really seeing Jonathan do it that triggered it in you?
Well, that combined with Star Trek was the first television series that I'd ever done, and so it was partly being on a set every day that sort of demystified the job. And I thought, oh, okay, it's not as complicated. It is complicated, but it's not as impossible to wrap my head around as I thought it was. It was just being exposed to it every day that gave me the idea, oh, I see, I get what they're talking about. Okay.
Robbie, you told Rick Berman that you wanted to direct while you were making the Voyager pilot. And that took balls, right?
Yes. I think it was day 2 of the pilot, and he happened to be down on the stages, and we wrapped and were walking away off the stages together, and I said to him, you know, I've been shadowing. I had started shadowing a couple of years before Voyager came around, and so I really wanted to have an opportunity to direct, and had been on a couple of shows that got canceled after 7 episodes or 13 or whatever. And so knowing the track record of Star Trek and that it might be around for a while, I wanted to be the first one to put my name in the hat.
And you wasted no time.
Day 2.
When did you get your first episode?
Season 2.
Season 2?
Yeah, about halfway through season 2.
Wow, that happened fast.
So tell everybody Rick's reaction when you said this on day 2.
He sort of laughed. He laughed a long time.
And didn't he say, prove your worth or show me you can do it?
He did. He said, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something like, well, you know, learn about this show, spend your time shadowing directors here, and go into editing and the production meetings, things like that. And he said, you know, maybe in season 4 or 5, something like that, you know. And I think he was very serious about That's how long he expected it to take. But I don't think he expected me to come to every production meeting and every producer screening and every direct. You know, I really, like I said, I've been on a couple shows that had been canceled, and even though Star Trek had a track record of sticking around, I kind of didn't believe it. So I really wanted to be the guy that was on the bench ready in case they needed somebody. And then Frakes, you know, got that First Contact job and had to back out suddenly. And Rick Berman called me. I was at a convention, actually, I think in Florida or somewhere. He called me on a Saturday, and he said, you've been shadowing a lot. I've seen, you know, you've been in all these meetings. He said, do you think you're ready to direct? And I said, yeah, I feel very ready. He goes, okay, you start Monday. That was it. That was it.
That's awesome.
And then Rene.
That's awesome. That's a great story.
Rene, yours was the reverse. Rick came to you.
Yeah, that's such an interesting point, actually, listening to it. What is it about Rick Berman that he had that sense that actors would have a, you know, because would be good at it or should be encouraged to do it? That's a great gift that he gave a lot of actors.
Yes.
And it's a kind of encouragement and a confidence in people that you don't see in this business a lot. And,
it's not common.
And so, yeah, he suggested that it might be something that I would consider. I was chicken shit, to tell you the truth. I couldn't conceive of it. But I started doing all the shadowing and all the stuff and going. And the thing I was not prepared for was how many decisions you had to make. Whether it's the color of a shirt or angles, all of that stuff. It's people constantly asking you to make a decision. And that I knew was not going to be my strong suit.
I think it's hard as an actor. You have a lot of time to sit with a script, focus on one character's experience, and the decisions you make are important as an actor. Like every little detail, you know what I mean? And as a director, to go from an actor's kind of, the actor's lens, which is very focused, to a director's lens, which is much bigger, but feeling like those decisions are as important, and they are very important, but there's 1,000 more of them.
Yeah, you have to make them on the move. Just quickly to return to where we started with this question, I saw Rick in the parking lot at one point after I had been doing all the shadowing and everything, and he was getting into his car, I was getting in mine. He said, "So are you ready?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know." He said, "You're ready, you're starting Monday," or whatever. And there it was, and off we went.
LeVar, do you have a story like that at all?
I remember very clearly the conversation with Rick. And his response really kind of surprised me. He said, "I've been waiting for a long time for you to come through that door. I think you're going to make a terrific director, go to school." I oddly don't remember the moment when I got my first slot. I don't remember that moment at all, but I remember the moment because I was nervous, I was scared that he was going to say no, you know? Yeah.
We're just scared.
No, well,
Like me.
no, I didn't know what he knew, which was that I would not suck at it if I really applied myself. I could be a decent director, and he saw that in me before I did. And thank God for Jonathan, and thank God for Rick and putting that program in place. It was not formal, but it was definitely regimented, right? I mean, there was the degree at the end was a name, your name on a slot. Whether you got a second slot, though, really depended on how you performed the first time around.
Right. Who were the directors the three of you shadowed the most, or that you paid the most attention to on set of your Star Trek shows?
That means we have to remember their names.
Well,
I remember some names.
Gabrielle Beaumont.
Gabrielle Beaumont.
Yep.
Rick Colby for me.
Robert Shear.
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Les Landau.
Les Landau.
Yes.
Late Night Les.
Jonathan Frakes.
Jonathan Frakes.
Jonathan, right. Yeah, like they said.
Right, Eddie? You guys say more and Rene will just repeat it. So give me one more director. Okay, Rene, this is all on you, buddy.
Steven Spielberg.
Right.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Alfred Hitchcock. First day on set, how nervous were you, or did you fake it? Or both?
Yeah.
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 Take us through that.
I was so scared. I was beside myself. And I found myself saying, well, it'll be sort of like this, sort of like this. And Jonathan West said, sort of? And I learned not to say that, but I was scared. But then, you know, and I'm sure these guys will corroborate, you know, the actors, really, you might think that there would be schadenfreude or that they would want, you know, that, let's see, but man, they all just came up and
Very supportive.
incredibly supportive.
In fact, I wanted to make mention of the support, the overwhelming support that we all received as first-time directors from the crew. Jonathan West, the director of photography, Chris Crosco, the camera operator, who's always very, very helpful. Everybody wanted you to succeed, and you really did this, your first episode, with a safety net underneath you. But you really did have to demonstrate that you understood what the job was about and that you had some flair for it in order to be considered for more episodes.
Yeah, I'd like to just interject that one of the things about actors getting to direct on a TV series, my response to it over the years, because actors get the shot, and it would always be like, yeah, they're going to direct. They're just going to get the title director, and really the DP, the director of photography, is really going to do it. And you know, the truth is, in most cases, that is what happens when an actor or one of the regulars on the show gets to direct. This is the difference, and we've already addressed it, that Berman put us through, that you really, whether you were great at it or not, you know, you really learned that your chops had to be ready to go, and you had to be ready to do it and know what you were doing, even with the safety net. Even with the absolutely.
I mean, it was truly, my understanding, an unofficial director's school. They had to go, how long a process was it? You had to watch episodes, you had to shadow directors, you had to go into editing. What else was involved?
That was really important. You had to spend time with every editor in the rotation.
Yeah.
And that was really, really key.
And what did you learn from watching editing specifically?
The cutting style of the show, what Rick liked to see, what he hated to see in cuts, right? The pace. Rick didn't like moving the camera a lot, so you know you had to learn the visual language of Star Trek.
Very classic.
Yes.
Yeah, very old school.
Very old
style.
school, which is the best way to learn a craft.
Absolutely.
And an art. But
There was I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, LeVar brings up a good point. Rick kind of had a rule, as I remember it, that if the camera was moving in a master shot or something, that it had to come to a stop before he would cut into coverage, to singles and things. So that's a very traditional, classic sort of style. Nowadays, if you watch television, the camera's moving and they're cutting and jumping all over the place, but Rick's rule was that old style. So if you look at most of the episodes, you'll see that that's true, that if the camera's moving in an opening shot, it will come to a stop before anything else happens. And he would get very angry if he had to cut in and break that rule. Yeah.
Guys, let me ask one more question and then we'll open it up to the fans for a few minutes. We don't have time to break down every episode you guys directed. I'm not going to ask you what's the best episode, but what's the one you were most personally satisfied with and why? One episode each that you directed of Trek. LeVar, why don't you start and go down the line?
For me, it will always be Second Chances, because it was my first, and it was really challenging because I had one actor playing two roles, and I had to figure that shit out. I had to figure out what was photo double and what was of his effect shot, and and in the teaser, I had one Riker doing a 360 around the other Riker, and I had to figure out how to shoot that. I mean, Dan Curry and the effects company were there to help you, but I had to figure out how to put that moment on film. And I recognized I didn't sleep practically. I was running on adrenaline and water. I had to pee every 10 minutes.
The no sleep is a classic director experience.
Did not sleep.
The anxiety that you feel.
But at the end, I was so exhilarated. I thought, oh my God, I did that. I did it.
Great. Robbie, how about you?
I think my favorite episode of Trek I directed was Someone to Watch Over Me, and I was and I think that there was a number of things I loved about it. It wasn't my first, it was maybe my third or so, I think. But the thing I loved about it, I had one of the Kids in the Hall actors, and I'm spacing on his name, a very funny actor playing this alien. So there was a comic storyline, which was very rare for us. And I love comedy. I love comedic relief, and so that was great. And also the story of the doctor teaching 7 of 9 how to go on a date. It was just beautiful. You know, it was so much heart in those two characters that didn't have a human experience, trying to understand it. And then I also was able to cast a couple of good friends of mine, Brian McNamara and David Burke, in roles that they just did a beautiful job of going on dates with 7 of 9. So I had friends in the show, I had the comedy, it had a ton of heart, and Bob got to sing in the episode. So everything that I loved was in there. It was a great episode.
Was it Scott Thompson?
Scott Thompson, yes, thank you. Yep.
And Rene?
Ooh. Okay, I need help. I can't remember the name of the episode.
Sounds like me. I can never remember title.
It was the episode that focused on Bashir going to the planet where everybody was dying of some strange disease. What?
The Quickening.
The Quickening. Thank you. The Quickening. The reason I say, and I will break this down very quickly, and I'm probably not even get the numbers right. I directed, I know, 8 episodes, and the truth is that, you know, 4 of them were totally acceptable because I got to do more, so obviously they were acceptable. 4 of them were, you know, okay. No, that makes all 8 of them, doesn't it? I'm not breaking it down right. Anyway, only a couple.
Math is hard. Math is really hard.
Only a couple of them did I come away feeling like, that I got it. And The Quickening was one of them. And the reason for me was that it was on location, which we rarely did. And it was a difficult and tricky location. And I wanted to use a crane, which for me was a big deal. Because I knew that the last shot of Bashir, I wanted him to look like a superhero. I wanted him standing on a pinnacle after he's managed to do the impossible. And I was able to get that. And there were a lot of people in it. There were many, many extras. And so it was like the biggest sort of production that I did. So that was a big challenge, and I met it. And I met it in the sense that, like one day, we were running out of light and running out of time, and I was able to just pull it together and rush it through and still get it to be acceptable. The poor actors that I was like forcing to do things that were not the way we were going to do it, and just so we could get it all on film. And so that would be the one that, you know, that I felt like I didn't screw it up, and it was a big deal, and so that was it.
Great, thank you. Let's open it up to some questions. Have it over here on my left, please.
LeVar Burton only. What was your biggest challenge being a director?
Biggest challenge being a director. Actors not coming out of their trailers.
Is this Star Trek?
specifically Star Trek. Just, his question was, generally, as a director, what is your biggest problem?
There you go.
Actors not coming out of their trailers.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Do you want to keep going down the lines? Do you want to answer that one too?
The hardest thing is that the biggest challenge as a director was the question?
Yeah.
For me, I tend to, you know, as Rene was talking about the schedule and time, and I tend to feel that schedule very, very heavily. Yeah, very personally. You know, we break down an episode when we were filming, and you predict hours that it will take to finish each scene that add up to the number of hours that you have in your day, your 12 or 14-hour day, whatever it is. And if I fall behind, I become very aware of time. And so my biggest challenge sometimes is staying focused creatively on the show and not just shooting the time, you know what I mean? You can get very caught up in, we gotta go, this will be fine, one take of that is fine, let's move on. And so I always have to catch myself sort of making sure that I don't move on until the actor is happy, until I feel like we've got something special that's really gonna play well and tell the story and move the audience and things like that. So time is the biggest challenge, I guess.
Time is unbelievable. It's terrifying because it's money. Time is money, and you have people breathing down your neck to stay on schedule. As I said, because I'm the imposter here, I never faced the problem of people not coming out of their trailers. Our cast was great, except for Michael Dorn. Michael Dorn, what a pain in the ass, Michael Dorn. I love Michael Dorn so much. And he would look at me and he would say, Rene, stop whining. Because I would say, Michael, can't you just do this thing? Anyway, yeah. Time in the trailer. And then the other thing that I had was the makeup, which was extraordinarily uncomfortable and limiting. And, you know, they were pretty careful not to give me episodes in which I had a lot to do. But still, it was weird being Odo and then having to sort of change into Rene talking to people and saying, can you move over there? Instead of saying, Quark, get over there. So that was
Very funny. Let's go to the right.
This question is for Mr. Burton. We need to know what you want for lunch today.
Yeah, what are you gonna have for lunch?
Yes. Can I have some?
Did you order? I don't know. What are the choices?
I don't know what
Decisions.
Do me a favor, bring the menu up on stage for him. I'm going to go to the next question.
But you bring up a good point.
You do want lunch?
No, what you're having for lunch when you're working tends to be one of the most important decisions of the day.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So lunch is important. I just wanted to say that.
Do you want to answer her?
Well, I'll have what I had yesterday.
Safe answer.
Yeah, thanks.
Italian sub?
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you all for taking part.
Wow. Do you agree with his choice of sandwich? Yes. Enjoy that. Great. Thank you. Over here on the, that was nuts. Over here.
Hey guys,
I got nothing. I'm just going to keep interrupting you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
all good. Guys, first of all, thank you for being involved with Chuck, the Orville, and Reading Rainbow. Really appreciate it. Have you ever directed or filmed something, you thought you nailed it, you bring it back to the editing booth, and you found out you screwed up royally? You have any funny stories about that, something you may have missed in your storyboarding?
Wow. How about that sandwich, LeVar?
That's what I'm thinking about, right?
Yeah.
I thought I had a story pop into my head, and I was trying to figure out how to tell it in a way that. So I'll tell it. Vaguely, I'll tell it. So I came into once on a show, not necessarily Star Trek, and I came on a show to direct an episode, the showrunner had said, oh, we've got this actor who played a very small role in another episode. We've written this whole episode for him. We love what he did in the little part of the first episode, and so he's going to be playing this big part. And I was like, great, I love this guy. Anyway, we go to the first day of filming, and the guy does the scene, and I don't think it's very good, but everything they had told me about this actor was, we love this guy, we love this, so I just kind of let him do what he did. And the next day I get a call from the showrunner going, oh my God, what have you done? Why did you direct him to do those things? And I was like, I actually said nothing to him because you had told me that you love this particular performer when he was in the small role. So I assumed what he was doing in this larger work was exactly what you love. So I actually didn't direct him at all. I just let him do. And they're like, well, this is a disaster. We're going to have to reshoot everything. And oh my God. And that person got very angry at me, as if I had directed this actor to do something that they wouldn't naturally do. So the lesson for me, and I hung up, and I sort of took it personally at first, but then I realized that, you know what, this showrunner was actually just panicking himself. And so I called him back and I said, look, I just want you to know, I take full responsibility for this. Even though I didn't know this actor before, I didn't believe that this was good work. I should have seen it, I should have gone with my instinct. This is my responsibility, I'm gonna fix it moving forward, and if we have to reshoot it. And it was the greatest thing, because that showrunner went, you know what, don't. All of a sudden, that combative sort of finger pointing of, what did you do? And no, it's your fault, no, it's your fault. All of a sudden, that sort of disappeared, and we both sort of problem solved, and it turned out great. So, but that was one where dailies the next day, all of a sudden everybody's like, oh my God. Anyway, that was a very vague version of that story.
Jeff Combs.
Left and right.
No one loves Jeff Combs more than I do, so.
I'm in that club too.
That's a cynical, bitter, silly joke. Because actually, I take a lot of credit for Jeff being so important to our show, because he was hired for one part in a show, and then when I was directing an episode, I wanted him, and they said, no, he played, and I said, he can do anything. And he came and played another character, and then after that, just to cover my ass.
Thank you for that question. Let's go to the right.
This is for LeVar. You've worked with Patrick, obviously, as a director, with the Too Much Smoke and all the stories we've heard for the years. What have you taken from Patrick Stewart's directing? What are you using that he did, or did not do?
The words action and cut.
There you go.
Smart man. Those are very effective tools.
Yeah. Okay, let's go up to the left.
He says it very well. You know.
That he does.
Yeah. When he says action, you really feel inspired to act.
I love that, I'm going to digress for a minute. There was a director named Kim Manners. I don't know if anybody...
The late, great Kim Manners.
Kim Manners would not call action. Do you remember what he used to do?
Oh, I hate it.
Yeah. A lot of actors hated it, but Kim Manners would go, okay, here we go, and kick it in the ass. That was it. He never called action.
Kim did a lot of the best X-Files episodes later on, right? Let's move to the left. Go ahead.
Hello, first of all, Mr. Auberjonois, I love your socks. Also, so Mr. McNeill just shed a little light on this with his story, but I'd love to hear from the other two of you as well. I feel like we all kind of already have a bit of a gist of how being an actor first helped shape you as a director, but I'm curious, did it ever go the other way of a lesson you learned from directing that made you a better actor? And more importantly, is there a lesson you learned from directing that made you a better person?
Good questions.
Well, I don't know if it made me a better actor, but once I started directing, my respect for directors, and I think I was always a professional. I was already a grown-up by the time I was old by the time I started doing Deep Space Nine. But I really did learn from the pressure of directing. Talk about actors not coming out of their trailer. As I say, I hope I was a pro, but I really, really became super vigilant in terms of, boy, if they said, you're needed on set, bang, I was there, ready to go, ready to deliver whatever I could. As opposed to Michael Dorn. Michael's gonna get me for this. That's what I would say about that.
Robbie?
The first thing that came to mind when you were asking the question, you said, is there something you've learned from directing that's made you a better person? Recently, I was directing an episode with a young actor who's only about 15, 16 years old. And I had tried being very, the situation was this young actor just did not feel comfortable with the entire storyline that he had. He felt like it didn't make any logical sense to him. He would not give himself over to the story. And so there's that. On the other side is me. I have a conflict avoidant problem. I have a people-pleasing issue. I have all kinds of clinical problems that we could talk about for a long time. So I tried the nice version with this actor for a long time. I tried convincing him. I tried explaining. I tried, intellectualizing. I tried everything. And finally, and this actor would not, especially when we got to these critical scenes, would not give himself over emotionally and in a way that we needed to the scene. And I pulled him to the side. And I was just honest with him. I said I was frustrated. I don't want to curse here, but I did with him. I didn't know what else to do. And I was absolutely honest with him. I said, your performance is not good. In fact, it's horrible. I said, what you're doing by disengaging from this story and doing absolutely nothing is not only hurting the scene, it's hurting your performance. Just everything about this is worse because of what you're doing. And I don't know what else is. And so anyway, the honesty that I had with that actor, all of a sudden he was able to go, well, okay, I hear you. We came back, he started giving himself over to the scene. And so I guess the lesson is, after that long story, is honesty sometimes, even though it's uncomfortable, that's a lesson for me to learn. Is like, stop trying to manipulate, stop trying to people please or avoid, but just be honest. And sometimes that'll be the best, get you where you need to go. So that's something I learned.
Thank you. And I'll go to the right.
I was wondering, for Robert and LeVar, you guys had done Star Trek in your series, you directed some in your series, but then you went to do LeVar, you did Voyager and Enterprise, Robert, you did some Enterprise. Was there any feeling from the actors, the crews, like, oh, here comes someone from Voyager, or here comes someone from Next Generation, or were they like, who's this guy to direct me, or what was the attitude towards you being Star Trek family, or was there nothing?
I didn't get a sense that there was anything but love and respect, right?
Yeah, I mean, when LeVar came on our show to direct, we were thrilled to have him there. I mean, to have, or Jonathan.
Right.
It was wonderful to have those actors coming to play with us. It just felt like, there is a bit of a sense, I think, with these casts, that we all have our own separate experiences as cast, the Voyager cast, Deep Space Nine, Next Gen cast, all of them, Enterprise cast. I know they've got the things that bond them. I love when we sort of start to bridge those gaps. And so having the directors from Next Gen come on was wonderful. It just really...
And I got a chance to really get to know all of the other casts by directing. When I went to direct Deep Space Nine, it was a completely different environment.
That was a big deal. I mean, it was incredible. And I only did, but as an actor, seeing a director, an actor that I had seen for a lot of my life and admired his work, and then to have him and know that he had gone the journey of Star Trek as well, and then come onto the set. He just had credentials, and Jonathan had the same kind of thing, credentials and immediate confidence in. Sometimes when a new director comes along, you don't know who they are, you don't know, you have to try and find your way in different ways of speaking, different ways. But with these guys, it just was like, you know, we are part of a world as actors, and it's great to be able to say, oh, I'm gonna shut up now. You get the point.
I get it, thank you.
But also, by the time these two guys got to those other shows, you had earned your stripes. You weren't on those shows just as a favor. You earned it.
We earned our way into the rotation of those other series.
Right, no doubt. How about over here on the left?
This is totally off topic from directing. LeVar, you were in Weakest Link, a hilarious episode of those Star Trek actors. Is something like that going to come again with you and maybe other Star Trek actors?
Another Weakest Link.
Or another
game show?
Game show along those lines.
Well, I've made it very clear that when Trebek retires in 2 years, I want that job. Because it's Jeopardy, Ian. I've been watching Jeopardy since I was in the 3rd grade. I was born for that gig.
Put it out there.
Brilliant.
There you go.
Are they hearing that? Do they hear that?
I certainly hope so. And so, I think an all-Star Trek version of Jeopardy, Celebrity Jeopardy, would be absolutely a must-do. Right?
Would you guys enjoy it?
I'm not that smart, but I'll try.
I can't remember the name of the show.
What did you want on the show?
I'd want Bob Picardo.
Oh yeah.
Forget Marina. You gotta get Marina in there.
For the R-rated version of Jeopardy.
Let's see Marina on Jeopardy. Oh my God.
Right.
She burned the network down.
Right. There you go. Let's go to the right. Guys, we got about 3 minutes left.
LeVar, you have instilled a love of reading in me from the time I was a little girl. And I wouldn't be the author that I am today, or the woman that I am today, without those books and my passion for reading. What I would like to know from all three of you, what book did you read any time in your life? It could be when you were a little boy, a little big kid. What book changed your life?
I'm going to start off quickly and then pass it on to the guys who probably have more intelligent. I would say Huckleberry Finn, for me, was a life-changing. And I read it very young, and I was living in a world that was pretty enclosed and I wasn't exposed to a lot of the world, and I'm talking about a long time ago, the 1950s, and it just, oh my God. And that's what I would say about that.
So Rene, how fast? How full circle was it for you? Did it end in Big River?
Oh yeah, that was big.
Right?
Yeah, that was a big river. It was big, and it was
A river.
because it was so much in there, and I knew it so well that actually Roger Miller wrote an extra song for me because I knew so much about the character I was playing in that, and he saw that and responded to it. And just a trivia note on the side, it's not trivial, but when I left that show to go back to Benson, because I did it during hiatus, this actor took over my role. He tried. Then you know it was Brent Spiner.
Robbie, what book for you? Robbie, what
One book is tricky. I think The Moviegoer by Wilbur Percy is one of my favorites. Confederacy of Dunces, another favorite. I love kind of that Southern literature, magical realism, and that sort of vein is definitely one of my favorite. Those are a couple of my favorite books.
And LeVar?
I cite in this instance the book that I was reading when I realized that I got what reading was about. And that was Captain's Courageous, Rudyard Kipling. I was in the 4th grade, and I got depressed when I finished the book, and I had so totally immersed myself in that experience in my imagination that to this day, when I'm getting to the end of a particularly good piece of fiction, I slow down to forestall that inevitable sense of sadness for having to leave that world. And that was the book that turned the light bulb on for me.
Great question. Thank you. Guys, we have time for one more question. So make it good, please. It's got to be the best. No pressure.
Hi. Many of the Star Trek actors have been working in fan-funded films, and I was wondering if any of you would be interested or have participated as a director in the fan-funded films.
I have an idea, and I mentioned it before, but I'm going to keep ringing that bell. And I actually talked to David Goodman, who's a writer on the Orville now, was on Enterprise, president of the WGA. I want to do a web series, maybe it's fan-funded or something, that's the Captain Proton characters. Serialized, like maybe 10 episodes, 5 minutes each or something, that could be a little movie or something. I'd love to see Captain Proton and Queen Arachnia with Kate and all those crazy characters from that little holodeck program we had on Voyager. That would be a fun, fan-funded something. So let's do it, right? Why not? Be fun.
All right, everybody, let's give it up for LeVar